Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice a radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new item card. A new Pokemon tool, really, which is going to be coming out in Altered Genesis and looks really, really annoying. It's called Beast Knight, or something like that. And our translation comes from, well, kind of Primal Lugia / Melkor. And it is a Pokemon tool card that basically says, if you attach it to an Ultra Beast, you get to do an extra 10 damage for each prize card that you have taken. Well, that sounds pretty gosh darn good, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's kind of annoying in a way, right? Because did we really need Ultra Beast to get any better? Like, seriously, was anybody out there just being like, hang on a second, Ultra Beasts aren't good enough? Is there anything we can do to give them extra help? To make them a little bit better? Well, apparently, ladies and gentlemen, there is. And make no mistake about it, this card is phenomenal. I mean, we've just lost Choice Band. And Choice Band means that you do an extra 30 damage. But we lost Choice Band. And so many people played it, except it didn't actually let you do an extra 30 damage. It let you do an extra 30 damage to EX and GX Pokemon against non-EX, non-GX Pokemon. It didn't even do the extra damage. Yeah. Whereas this lets you do up to an extra 50, really, there are exceptions. And that's to any Pokemon. But it's only for Ultra Beast. I mean, we had Beastbringer a little while ago released, and that let you take an extra prize if you had 6 prizes remaining and you KO'd a GX. It was a little bit awkward. And it saw a little bit of play in a few decks, but it never really got good enough. Well, this is the kind of thing that will easily slot into decks. Because the fact of the matter is, what else do you need? Like, if you're playing an Ultra Beast deck at the moment, and by far the best one around is Blacephalon, what tool are you really relying on? And the answer is you're kind of not. Like, if we look at Blacephalon deck lists, I'm not saying they don't play tools, I'm saying they don't rely on tools. So this can slot right in. And the more prizes you take, the more powerful this gets. If you've taken 4 prizes, you're doing an extra 40 damage. To put it another way, let's say you're playing Blacephalon, you take down a Dagdeem GX, and all of a sudden you're hitting for an extra 30 damage. And that's exceedingly relevant. Because let's say you're against a Reshiram and Charizard deck, for instance. Well, generally speaking, you need to get a KO by discarding 6 energy and doing 300 damage. Well, you do that, I say discard, you lost zone the energy. So you lost zone 6 energy, get a KO. Cool. But then you attach one of these, you're doing an extra 30 damage, which effectively brings Reshiram and Charizard to 240 HP, which means you're now lost zoning 5 energy to go and get that second KO. And there's a huge difference to that, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely huge. I mean, against something like a Pikachu and Zekrom, you take a single prize, and then all of a sudden, you can lost zone 4 energy using Beast Energy and this to do the extra 40 damage, bring them down to essentially 204 energy. Make no mistake about it, this is great and will be put into like every Ultra Beast deck. Because the other thing to remember here is it's an Ultra Beast, you've got Beast Energy. You've already got Beast Energy to do an extra 30 damage, now you've got this as well. And it's not just this and Beast Energy. Don't forget you've also got Ultra Space to search them out from your deck, the supporter card. You've got Beast Ball, which will search them out from your prizes. Okay, it's awkward, but I've seen this played in a few decks here and there. You've got Beast Ring to accelerate energy. Ultra Beasts have a lot of advantages at the moment, and this is just one more among them. And okay, it's not terribly good in the early game, but does it need to be? I mean, if you're getting this much of an advantage in the late game, is it not worth playing a tool that doesn't do much in the early game? Because the fact of the matter is, after you've taken like one prize, you're still doing an extra 10 damage. And for years, we've all been playing stuff like Plus Power and Crobat G that essentially did an extra 10 damage. So why would we not play a tool that does an extra 10? And bearing in mind, as well as Choice Band, we also lost Professor Kukui. And sure, if you're a fighting deck, you've got Diancie Prism Star. And if you're a lightning deck, you've got Electro Power. But most decks at the moment do not have a particularly good way to add extra damage. Well, Ultra Beast had one of the best with Beast Energy. Now they've got another good one with this. And we've talked about Blacephalon, but that's not the only option here. Now, to be fair, one of the other Ultra Beasts which is played a huge amount is, unfortunately, it's Naganadel. And the problem is that Naganadel hits the bench, and as with all of these kind of things, this only does extra damage to the active. But I will say, one thing we like very much here, the other Naganadel. Now, the other Naganadel does 120 base. And it's important because it's a psychic Pokemon and therefore is hitting weakness against Mewtwo and Mew. Which means double with weakness, you're going up to 240 and not quite getting a KO. Now, if you've got your once per game Beast Energy, then that 120 becomes 150, and then you're doing 300, then you do get the KO and life is good. But otherwise, you're not getting a KO. Well, in comes this. As soon as you've taken 2 prizes, then you're hitting 140, which double with weakness is 280, and then you absolutely are getting a one-hit KO. And that's kind of the point here. The point here is that you're hitting the numbers. It's allowing you to get KOs where you otherwise wouldn't be getting KOs. One Ultra Beast that was seeing a phenomenal amount of play but does seem to have dropped off a little bit is the Buzzwole. And Buzzwole hits weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom, right? So clearly here the ideal situation is your opponent has exactly 4 prizes remaining and you do 120 and get a KO, but that's not always possible. And Sledgehammer does a natural 30, which isn't particularly useful. With Beast Energy, you go up to 60, which is 120. And with this, you can get a maximum extra 50, hitting 110, double with weakness, 220. That is a bit of an issue. Until you remember that Diancie Prism Star is a thing. And now, with Diancie Prism Star, you're up to 50. And then your Beast Energy puts you up to 80. So if you've taken 4 prizes, your Beast Knight here takes you up to 120 and then does get a one-hit KO. And then it doesn't matter how many prizes your opponent has taken, all of a sudden you've got a really good counter to Pikachu and Zekrom. This is not the kind of card that you can just magically whack into Ultra Beast decks and make the best use of. Now don't get me wrong, you can randomly drop it into Ultra Beast decks and you will do the extra damage, but what you really want to try and do here is set up a situation where you're getting a KO with Buzzwole on Pikachu and Zekrom when you shouldn't be able to. Or you're getting a KO with Blacephalon giving up 1 fewer energy to the Lost Zone. Or you're getting a one-hit KO with Naganadel or Mewtwo and Mew in a situation where you wouldn't usually be able to get one. That's what I'm getting at here, ladies and gentlemen. That's where this is such a good card. Now, I said generally maximum 5 extra damage. You can do 6. That is, if your opponent uses something like Naganadel or Xurkitree to give you an extra prize, then you can actually take 6 prizes without having won the game, and then be doing an extra 60 damage. But let's be honest, that's such a weird niche situation that it's almost never going to happen, and it's not really worth mentioning. Doing extra damage is always good. It's one of my mantras on this channel. And we don't have great ways to do extra damage at the moment. This is a way to do extra damage. And in the same way Plus Power got played, and Crobat G got played, and Choice Band got played, this will get played. This will be a very good card that sees a lot of play in a lot of Ultra Beast decks. My only real question is, of all the other tricks we've highlighted in this video, did Ultra Beast really need anything else? Okay, at least we're locking them out of Martial Arts Dojo. Whoop whoop. But then we locked them out of Martial Arts Dojo and gave them something even better. Boo. I'm still giving this 4 Wassies. And honestly, that might end up being a bit misery. This could well be a 5 Wassie card. The one thing that really puts me off at the moment is that Ultra Beasts are not in the centre of the format like they have been, but there are plenty of good ones out there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, a really good card, even if it is restricted to Ultra Beasts, which is kind of annoying. But I would very much like to know what you think about it, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a bunch of games. Don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.